What a day then in Italy at Juventus, sacking Sarri and Pirlo, the new man in charge. Of course, synonymous with the club's success earlier on in the decade and winning the World Cup as well back in 2006 with Italy to boot. A big surprise as well coming in Julien and Gab Marcotti. Gab, I'm right, aren't I? This is a big surprise.
It is a surprise. I mean, it's not a surprise that Pirlo's at Juventus because obviously he was appointed last week, but he was appointed for the under-23 side, which plays in the Italian third flight. I think very few people would have expected him to take the step up so quickly. I think Juventus were in a situation where they had to act very, very quickly. Fabio Paratici coming out today and basically contradicting his boss, Andrea Pirlo, saying that, well, the Sarri decision had, was some time in coming, which means that obviously they had looked around. But I think they looked at other candidates, and, the reality is getting somebody like Pochettino in was going to take time and probably money for a rebuild. Somebody like Simone Inzaghi, perhaps they felt wasn't ready, or, they passed him over last summer, and they said, hey, and this is my reading, but also the reading of other people in Italy, we've got Cristiano Ronaldo for another 2 years. He's still productive. We have a bunch of veterans. We want a manager who's going to play to the strengths of the players that we do have, not try to take them and try to take us on a journey, try to take us to play a very different style of football. This is not the time for revolution. And they figured Andrea Pirlo, they've got the perfect guy because, Pirlo's going to come in. We don't know what his overarching ideas are, but we've seen who the biggest influences on him during his career were as a manager, from Carlo Ancelotti to Marcello Lippi with the national team, to, of course, Conte and Allegri. And he looks at this and he says, I'm going to go and I'm going to do what I'm told, and I'm going to try to get the best out of what I have without being utopian in approach. You're going to have the fans on side because Pirlo is a legend and a hero. You're buying yourself time. I think Pirlo has everything that it takes to become a great manager. But I think it's going to be very difficult for him to show that in year one.
Yeah, Jules, we've heard this before though, haven't we? We've seen it before. Club legends coming in, and for those that work, there's a lot more that don't. Was this really the best option?
I mean, I have to disagree with Gab, which is really rare. It doesn't make any sense if you, in that case, just go and get Max Allegri back because you know exactly what you're going to get from him, and that's exactly what you want, being pragmatic, getting the results, playing on the strength of your players. Don't try to establish a different DNA or a different style or a revolution. But Pirlo is a revolution. No one knows if he might be completely out of depth. He's never managed before. No one can tell us, oh yeah, he's going to get the best out of these squads and it's no time for a rebuild. Really? This is the perfect time for a rebuild. This is the oldest squads in the top European clubs. It's a bad team. It's a bad squad. Pirlo can do nothing better than Sarri with these squads.
See this, Jules? This is the universal sign for money. And this is the reality of the situation that we're in. If you bring Max Allegri in, he's going to want to rebuild the squad. He's going to want big budgets and big players straight away. Same thing goes with Pochettino. That's assuming, by the way, that Allegri wants to come back, which I think is still a little bit up in the air. He didn't leave himself very well with some people who are still there. Obviously, Pirlo is a colossal gamble, but they look at it as the kind of gamble that they can absorb for a year. And by the way, I'm giving you what I think their explanation is. I'm not giving you my view necessarily.
And what is your view?
If Pirlo doesn't work out, a year from now, Zinedine Zidane is out of contract at Real Madrid. And then maybe you can start taking a longer view. Maybe you can start pursuing somebody else. But they're under no illusions. The general sense is that Maurizio Sarri screwed this team up by not playing to what the team's strengths were. And they hope that Pirlo can do that. They hope that Pirlo can get Cristiano on board and simply build a team around Cristiano. Is it short-sighted? Absolutely. But I think right now, this is the cost-benefit analysis that they did.
Here's the issue, though, Jules. You were there yesterday. This team isn't good enough, is it, to compete at the highest level in Europe because their personnel isn't there. So pretty much Pirlo's got the impossible job coming in. Yes, you can win the Italian league, but as we've seen with Sarri, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, there were other issues, obviously, with Sarri than just the style of play, I think. But I mean, you cannot forget, amongst all of that, yeah, of course, Sarri has responsibilities in the failure of the Champions League, because losing in the last 16 of the Champions League for a club like Juventus is a failure. But losing it in that way against a team that finished 7th in France and who hadn't played in 5 months is a huge failure. So he's partly to blame. But so are Agnelli and Paratici and Nedved, who didn't build a proper squad. This is, if you think about what they did in the last 3 years in terms of recruitment, in terms of selling players and buying players, this is just not good enough. They also have to take responsibilities for where the club is now and where the team is now, because this is a club that's gone backwards in the last 3 years. And we don't have to go back to Vidal, Pogba and Pirlo and the best midfield that was in Europe back then probably. But if you look at where the team is now, the way they play and the personnel and who they have on the bench, I mean, yesterday it was embarrassing. And okay, you had injuries and people missing and stuff, but it was embarrassing, really, for a club like Juventus to be in that situation, I think. And that's not just down to Sarri. And I don't think Pirlo can fix it quickly. And again, I'm repeating myself, but you need to rebuild in some way. Okay, you can't go and spend 300 million euros, but you need a big shaking up in that squad, because whether you get Pirlo or Guardiola or Klopp or whoever else, Gab Marcotti, you won't be able to do a good job with that squad. It's not possible, I think.
They clearly need reinforcements, Gab, if they're going to compete, if they're going to go all the way in the Champions League next season. But you just said they don't have the money to do so. So this is a disaster waiting to happen, isn't it?
I mean, they have to be smart about how they operate at this stage. No more of these sort of free transfers that aren't free because you give them enormous wages and they screw up your wage bill. I mean, I agree with Jules. I think Paratici and Nedved have a lot to answer for. They didn't build this team for Sarri. I don't think they really built this team for Allegri at the end. I'm not quite as negative about the personnel that they have. Yeah, the midfield is a car crash, and I'm not sure Archer alone is going to fix that, but obviously they've got Dejan Kulusevski coming into the front three, and if Dybala has the season he had and you've got Ronaldo, you're okay. At the back, Demiral will be fit again, and you've got De Ligt, and maybe you squeeze another year out of Bonucci. You're okay at center back. You need help, I think, out wide. So I don't know that there's necessarily that much to do, but I think they look at this almost as like a placeholder. It's not a tragedy if they don't win the title next year. They've won 9 in a row. That's done and dusted. But can Pirlo somehow magic them through the knockout phases of the Champions League by putting Cristiano Ronaldo in condition to do so, by creating a better atmosphere around the team? They're going to gamble on that for this season.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.